own battle plan, no? Battle camp, bases, weapons, no? We have those. We have our own verses na panlaban, word of God, kumbaga, no? And in verses 4 to 7, now, here comes. Verses 4 to 7, a champion named Goliath, who was from Gath, came out of the Philistine camp. His height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head and wore a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels. On his legs, he wore bronze greaves, and a bronze javelin was slung on his back. His spear shaft was like a weaver's rod, and its iron point weighed 600 shekels. His shield bearer went with him. The enemy, who is Goliath, was described as a champion from Gath. When you say you are a champion, no one has beaten you laban sa ibang mga champions. And you are at the top, unbeatable. Gath, sabi, is one of the last refuges of the Anakim or giants. One of the main city of Philistines. And Goliath came from that place. And his height, number 2, his height is 6 cubits and a span, that is around 9.75 feet tall. So, hindi ko kaya i-measure, but probably way taller than me. And his bronze helmet, wearing a coat of scale armor of bronze weighing 5,000 shekels or 57 kilograms. Yung ano pa lang niya. Mahirap kang buhatin ng 10 kilong bigas papunta dito hanggang Weston, no? Or Weston papunta dito. Okay. And bronze greaves, parang yung shield ng legs. Have you seen that? Yung sa mga Helen of Troy, ganyan. His bronze sheaves, meron siya sa legs, no? Bronze. And bronze javelin slung on his back, nakasukbit sa likod. Parang spear, yung sa Olympics na parang spear, yung mga pinabato nila ng gano'n. So, and spear shaft is like a weaver's rod, yung tusok. Its iron point is 600 shekels or 6.48 kilograms. 6.84, kilograms. His shield bearer went ahead of him, no? May tagahawak pa ng shield. And in short, there's only one thing that he can do. To tear someone apart or to kill someone na lalapit sa kanya or lalaban. And it is true, when our enemies' trials are described, it is too big to overcome. It is nearly or it is really impossible to beat. Ama? Now, reading on verses 8 to 10, Goliath stood and shouted to the ranks of Israel, "Why do you come out and line up for a battle?" Sabi niya, "Am I not a Philistine, and are you not the servants of Saul? Choose a man and have him come down to me. If he is able to fight and kill me, we will become your subjects. But if I overcome him and kill him, you will become our subjects and serve us." Then the Philistines said, "This day I defy the armies of Israel. Give me a man and let us fight each other." Now, reading this verse, sabi niya sa army, "Bakit kayo ang lalaban? Nag-iisa lang ako. Mag-send kayo ng best warrior niyo, labanan ako. And then we will submit to you kung matatalo kami." And vice versa. No, there are times, if you notice, there are times that we will be attacked in the most uncomfortable way. Doon sa paraan na hindi tayo sanay. O hindi natin napaghandaan. Doon sa hindi mo comfort zone. Kumbaga, no? The battle sometimes is not kung paano mo naisip o napaghandaan. Just like what happened here. Akala nila, army sa army, pero biglang may lumabas sa isang champion, naghahamon, isa lang ang lalaban. No? And in verse 11, sa nangyari, on hearing this, the Philistines' words, Saul and the Israelites were dismayed and terrified when they heard it, that uncomfortable thing na hamon ni Goliath, they were dismayed and terrified. If you're dismayed, sabi sa dictionary, you're disoriented, horrified, shaken, nanginginig ka siguro, no? Ganon. And terrified. Terrified means feel extreme fear, extreme to the highest point, no? Pinaka ng takot. They're greatly afraid. That's what they felt. They know it's the end. Para sa kanila, no? It's their time. Now, look at this. They forgot their identity. They forgot who they were and what they were made of. Imagine, they were warriors. They were armies, the armies of the living God. And probably trained since mamulat sila ng mata to fight, no? Since nung bata pa lang sila, they were trained to fight. They were trained for it, but they forgot who they were when they saw Goliath. And nakita nila yung kapasidad nila bilang tao siguro. And when these things come, nasya-shaken tayo and we forgot our identity. We forgot that we are more than conquerors, no? And we forget we have God, that Jesus lives in us. And the Spirit of God lives in us. No? What happened? Okay, on the other side, in verses 12 to 15, I'll just focus on 14 to 15. David was the youngest. The three oldest followed Saul. No? But David went back and forth from Saul to tend his father's sheep at Bethlehem. As for David, on the other side of the battlefield, no, here is David, no, I'll just do my job nang walang reklamo. Now, he was with his father, no. In whatever you do it as it is for Jesus. That's what's for David, no. And David would faithfully do this as what we have studied from the previous chapter, no, 16. And in Ephesians chapter 6 verses 1 to 3, probably bit-bit ni David to, no? Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on earth. And at that time, no, hanggat maaari, every aspect ng buhay ni David, he would glorify the Lord. Now, in verse 16, for 40 days, the Philistines came forward every morning and evening, took his stand. No? For 40 days, naghahamon si Goliath. No? Siguro 40 days, takot din sila. No? Jumping on to verses 20 to 22, before that, in verses 17 to 19, nautusan si David. His father asked him to bring food for his brothers in the battlefield. At para kamustahin din. No? And in verse 20 to 22, and I'll focus on 20, early in the morning, David left the flock in the care of a shepherd, loaded up and set out as Jess had directed. Early in the morning. Si David, pag may pinagawa sa kanya ang Lord o ang tatay niya, susunod siya agad. With excellence. May it be as simple as magdala ng pagkain. No? That's what we've read. Gising ng maaga para di malate. No? And ahead. And as it was directed by his father. Walang labis, walang kulang. Now, being there, no, of course, naririnig ni David yung usapan, yung salita. So, nagtanong siya sa mga kapatid niya, no? And in verses 23 to 24, as he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, stepped out from his lines and shouted his usual defiance. Oh. And David heard it. Whenever the Israelites saw the man, Goliath, they all fled from him in great fear. Oh. This was the first time he heard it, David. Pag nakikita naman ng Israelites si Goliath, nagsisitakbuhan with great fear pa. Parang ganun siguro na pag yung minsan ginugulat namin si Joy. Talagang nanginginig eh. Kidding aside, no, siguro no, for 40 days ganun sila, no, pumunta sila kung ano, kaya na natin to, tapos biglang lalabas sila, teka lang, takbo. Parang hindi kaya, nanginginig pa, kumbaga, no? And so, moving on, verses 25 to 27, now the Israelites has been saying, no, Na, ito na, David was asking about what's happening, no, dun sa battle. And now the Israelites had been saying this. Do you see how this man keeps coming out? He comes out to defy Israel. The king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. He will also give him his daughter in marriage and will exempt his family from taxes in Israel. 26, David asked the man standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this grace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine? No? And so natotaunt na si David, no? That he should defy the armies of the living God. In 27, they repeated to him what they had been saying and told him, this is what will be done for the man who kills him. Now, when we stand for the Lord, may kaukulang pagpapala yun at pabor. It is an opportunity to be blessed. And David saw this opportunity to be blessed. He didn't see Goliath. He saw that this is an opportunity to be blessed. Number 1, the king will give great wealth to the man who kills him. Number 2, the king will give him his daughter in marriage. Nice. Princess. And
Para sa Rina.
no, para si Diyos, si Mario hirap na hirap pa, nilalaglag pa para makuha si princess, no? And will exempt his family from taxes. Imagine, you're not going to pay your taxes, makuha mo yung buo yung sweldo mo. Pag bumili ka sa Jollibee, walang 12% VAT. Diba, mga ganyan, wala. May asawa mo, prinsesa, head turner, no? You got everything you want, diba? And he will give you great wealth pa, bibigyan ka ng panggastos. And it is an opportunity to be blessed. If we are going to stand for the Lord, this is an opportunity to be blessed. Even, gaya na sabi ni Sister Mlet, even in that most uncomfortable way, it is an opportunity to be blessed. And then, in verse 28, watch this out. When Eliab, David's oldest brother, naalala niyo si Arnold Schwarzenegger, heard him speaking with a man, he burned with anger at him and asked, "Why have you come down here? And with whom did you leave those few sheep in the wilderness?" Insulto no? "I know how conceited you are and how wicked your heart is. You came down only to watch the battle." Kikichismis ka lang, no? Doon ka nga sa mga mag-alaga ka ng mga hayop doon, gano'n. Sabi, alam nyo, when I was reading this, no, when you are serving your purpose para sa Panginoon, people around you, close to you, or strangers maybe, will try to pull you down. Dismay you na sa totoo lang, wala namang katuturan yung sinasabi nila. Pero pag pinansin mo, bigla ka lang malilihis sa kung saan ng direksyon ng Panginoon sa'yo. Distractions in our lives, no? Hinihila lang yung opportunity na pagpalain tayo ng Lord. Tatayo ka na no? Bigla na lang magsasalita yung kapatid niya ng gano'n. Sa panahon ng gera, ang inisip yon, no? Imagine that. Concerned pa yung kapatid niya sa ibang bagay, no? Which I think is unrelated dun sa laban ng Israel. It was unrelated. It was very unrelated for him being an army. Imagine, Eliab was a part of the army, and yun yung lumalabas sa bibig niya, no? Na kung pinansin siguro ni David yun, malamang na bad trip lang yun. Bala ka nga dyan. No, yung mga nag-aaway minsan, gano'n, bala ka dyan. Ganun. There are a lot of distractions in our lives, and we have to be aware of it. Bully din yung kapatid niya, no? Kaya itong ginawa ni David. Moving on to verses 29 to 31. Now what have I done? Sabi ni David. Can't I even speak? He then turned away to someone else and brought up the same matter. And the man answered him as before. What David said was overheard and reported to Saul, and Saul sent for him. Now he turned away to someone else. No, hindi niya ininda kung ano yung sinasabi ng kapatid niya. Distraction. He turned away to someone who na mas makakatulong. No?
Yes.
I want to hear what it is, no? For me, no? Winasiwas lang niya yung mga bagay na hindi naman makakatulong sa pagkakatawag niya, no? Remember, he was already anointed to be as king of Israel. No? He was already called, no? Hindi niya inintindi yun. Sabi niya, as for me, I will serve the Lord. Kaya kung may mga bagay na hindi nakakatulong sa pag-serve natin sa Panginoon, kalimutan mo na yan. Kalimutan ko na yun. No? Hayaan mo na, bahala sila dyan. In verses 32 to 33, David said to Saul, "Let no one lose heart." Sabi ni David kay Saul sa hari. "Let no one lose heart on account of this Philistine. Your servant, David, will go and fight him." Sabi niya kay Saul. And then, Saul replied, "You're not able to go against this Philistine and fight him. You're only a young man, and he has been a warrior from his youth." Diba? Now, this is a little more related to what's happening. Medyo realidad to. No? Distractions and discouragements. No? And David is about to stand for the Lord. To stand against the enemy who defies the army of the living God. And distractions comes. Discouragements comes. As compared sa mga kapatid niya, medyo personal pa to eh. Yung sinabi ni King Saul, no? Pinuna yung itsura ni David. Parang bagito ka lang. No? Yung liit mong yan, wala ka di experience eh. Ito, simula pagkabata, kumbaga, papunta ka pa lang, pabalik na tong si Goliath. Baka madagalan ka lang yan, no? Malabo yan. And we experience it, titirahin tayo ng personal para matrigger ka na malihis sa gusto ng Diyos. Alam nyo, isa sa mga rason, bakit natakot si Saul kay Goliath and ibang Israelites. Let's read this. Isipin mo, may tumayo na imbis na i-encourage, dini-discourage, no? Yan na yung nangyari kay Saul eh. Let's read this. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 14. Now, the Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him. The Spirit of the Lord had departed. Wala na yung source of strength. Kaya pala ganun na si Saul. Takot na. And eto naman yung kay David. Eto naman yung kay David. No? Balik lang tayo ng isang verse. Verse 13. 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 13. So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers. And from that day on, the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David. It came powerfully. It did not depart. It came to David. Samuel then went to Ramah. Now, this is the source of strength ni David. Na kahit ganun lang siya, katiting lang, no? Handang lumaban, hindi takot. Now, coming from a leader who was scared, syempre, no, na-impart niya sa mga tao yun. Yun nga yung sinabi niya kay David, eh. Siguro sa mga gustong lumaban na army, part of the army, yun yung sinasabi ni Saul, no? Parang hindi mo kaya yan, parang medyo konti pang mag-push up ka pa, ganyan. Kulang pa ng mga 5 push up pa para makalaban ka na kay Goliath. So yeah, but if we know our God, iba ang magiging storya. If we have that relationship with the Lord, with Jesus, may ibang istorya. Just like David, no? Remember, he's a man after God's own heart. Now, almost the end. In verses 34 to 37, let me read this. But David said to Saul, "Your servant has been keeping his father's sheep. When a lion or a bear came and carried off a sheep from the flock, I went after it, struck it, and rescued the sheep from its mouth. When it turned on me, I seized it by its hair, struck it, and killed it. Your servant has killed both lion and bear. This uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, because he has defied the armies of the living God. Now the Lord who rescued me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will rescue me from the hand of this Philistine." Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Ginamitan ng salita ng Diyos, no? Remember the things that the Lord has done in your life. Sabi ni David, teka lang, mahal na hari, no? That's what you think. Maliit lang ako. But he will be like those lions and bears because he has defied the armies of the living God. The best part, the Lord who rescued me from those wild animals, no, he remembered. And just like what the word has been, what they were saying here, kanina pa, no? He remembered what the Lord has done. He remembers what the Lord has done in his life. No? And I want to point out, no, this battle has nothing to do with David. It is not his concern. Kumbaga, kasi as a shepherd boy, nagdala lang siya ng pagkain. Hindi niya concern yun. Tagadala lang ako ng pagkain. Eh. Parang pag tinawag ka ni Bishop, mag-preach ka, hindi mo concern mag-preach. Kasi preacher, parang ganun yung thinking, di ba? Sa kanya, hindi niya concern yun. Nagdala lang siya ng pagkain at shepherd lang siya. Ang concern nito is si Saul and the armies of the living God. No? He was not even a soldier or even part of the army. Hindi siya water boy. Now, if you want to win against Goliath, and everybody has his Goliath right now, you have to start caring for what concerns the Lord. David said he beat bears and lions. And I made the research on them. And here's what I found. A brown bear, a bear's length would be around 4 feet to 7 inches to 9 feet 2 inches. Almost the same as Goliath. And a lion would be around 1.1 meters to 1.3 meters. When it stands on hind legs, yung nasa likod niya na paa, it will be around 10.8 feet tall. It's taller than Goliath. The Lord prepared David. These animals are of the same height or a little taller than Goliath. Now I want to end it here. As what we have hearing from the beginning. The point is not about who the enemy is. But it is about what the Lord has done in the past. I'm sure He will do it today and tomorrow. And Goliath is about to be defeated.
Amen.
So yun lang po. Yung battle ko na siya.